Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to tonight's NIIM International Women's Day. This is our first International Women's Day webinar event. In the past, like many of us, we've had the opportunity to get together to network, share experiences and hear from the many speakers that we've had at NIIM along the way. So it is a different experience for us here. I'd just like to, perhaps for those who are not aware of NIIM and the work that we do, to give you a bit of an insight into integrative medicine. It's often a term that some people may not know what that means. Integrative medicine blends conventional medicine with evidence-based natural and complementary medicine, and includes lifestyle factors and interventions that can deliver a holistic, person-centred care. And at NIIM, we offer a lot in terms of our clinical services, our complementary therapies. And we certainly help people unpack a lot of what is their complex health journey to really improve quality of life and promote recovery. This year's theme of Mental Health Week, of International Women's Day, and I have to say that mental health is close to my heart, having worked in that sector a long time. Our health is one of the most important things to us, and we really need to be a leader in our own health and well-being, and certainly it's something that we want to share with you tonight. We want to look at that in a holistic way, and we've got a number of speakers. I had the privilege of speaking with Melanie Gleeson, who is the founder and CEO of Endota Spa, earlier this week. She's a very busy lady, and so I was fortunate to grab her at home to have a conversation about how she's managed to balance work and career and build such a successful business. We've also got two of our clinicians from NIIM, Dr. Anjana Arun and Dr. Tamara Nation. Both will be speaking this evening. At the end of this webinar, we do have a number of prizes that have been donated by Endota Spa, a number of gift vouchers from Spotlight, and also from our NIIM dispensary. So after the webinar is finished today, we will have a draw for those who are still registered at the webinar, and we'll be in touch tomorrow to the winners. But first, I'd like to share with you that conversation I had with Melanie. She certainly has embodied a lot of the values of Endota Spa, and I think has successfully done a lot in terms of helping women look after themselves, put themselves first, and to be able to manage what is a global organisation with family commitments and stay sane in the process. So I'd like to switch now to that interview that I did a little while ago. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
That's okay.
Melanie, just reflecting on your own journey as a female leader, what would you say are some of the factors of success?
Lots of different things, I think, have contributed to the success. The main ones being the people that you surround yourself with. So we have an amazing team at Endota, and many of those people have been with us for 20 years. So I think when you work with people for a long period of time, you share similar values. So that's very important, especially as you grow on the journey, having the same values. And I think for Endota and the wellness category in general, the change in consciousness and the change in what people put as a priority, we've really seen the shift, as I think you would have at NIIM, over the last 20 years. I mean, in the beginning when we started, wellness wasn't really a category, and now is part of people's everyday. So I think that has helped with the success of the brand too.
Yes, health is such a relationship business, and yeah, that's right, having those, I'm totally on the same page with having people who, you know, come on that development journey of the organisation, but developing their own skills, it seems to me, women in leadership roles. I'm sure you've had many challenges along the way, and how do you keep yourself motivated to overcome things that that are thrown at you along the way?
I think you have to really love what you do. I think definitely for sustainability, and the love and the energy that you bring to something that you're passionate about makes a difference. I have a really good support crew around me that help as well. So little things, even like my dad sends us, my sister and I, quotes at the start of each day. So I read something positive as soon as I wake up, and all those little things help along the way. And there have certainly been challenges, big challenges, but I think being able to put those into perspective and realize that there is always a solution, might not be what we think it's going to be, but there's always a solution to the problem. So yeah, that, and really loving what you do.
So that sounds lovely that you get those messages each day, and I think for women in leadership, having a supportive family network is just vital. So you've got 2 children.
Yes.
How do you juggle the work-life balance with family life and building such a successful business?
Yes, I've got 2 little boys. Fergus is 12 and Jimmy is 8. But I'm very fortunate. My husband and I, about 5 years ago, made the decision to really have a strong home work partnership. So Pete sacrificed his career and became a full-time home dad, which enabled me to do everything that I need to do with the business. So our boys are very fortunate that they have 2 parents around a lot of the time. But I'm also very fortunate I do not have to do all the other jobs that women often are left with. So I get to concentrate on the creativity and the building of Endota. I think for a lot of women it's hard because they're so mentally fatigued, because they're doing the thinking for the family. What do I get out of the freezer to cook tonight? All of those things. Where's drop off? Where's pick up? They're doing all of that. Plus they're having a career. So I'm very lucky that my husband is amazing, and he does all of those things for me. So we have a very good understanding of what each other does. We've done both roles. And really that's the only way that I'm able to do what I do.
I think many women would be envious of having a husband who would take some of those responsibilities on, because I think many women who will be watching this will be saying, you know, I do a full-time job, and yet we know that I think 70% of the domestic responsibilities often fall to women as well. So it's a fairly challenging headspace. How did you go during COVID? How did that work with homeschooling, etc.?
Well, again, what we were talking about before about the 70% of still falls to women, and I really do think unless there is more change in the home environment, we won't see women as much as we should in leadership roles, because it's just too much. It's too much for everybody. You can't do everything. So I think that certainly needs to be addressed. How did we go in COVID? Again, Pete was responsible for all the homeschooling. It was difficult because I was trying to work and he was with the boys, but I was fortunate there. And then I was also fortunate because when it opened up in Melbourne for a little while, we went to Byron Bay for a 10-day holiday. And then when things changed, we decided to stay up there. So we were very fortunate in COVID. And I was able to continue doing things that we couldn't do down here, like the filming of our Mother's Day campaign and Christmas and retreat program. And we were able to stay at friends' houses and caravan parks and have that experience. So COVID was very difficult for a lot of people, but the experience for me was different.
So you mentioned earlier on that more people are interested in looking after their healthcare. I think one of the things that COVID has raised with all of us is that, you know, our health is so important to us. It can be fragile. Many people who have, you know, complex or chronic health conditions have particularly been at risk during the pandemic. We have at NIIM, we've certainly seen, we've had a lot more interest in individuals looking at the preventative space, as well as how to boost your immunity, how to keep well. Have you seen, apart from COVID, have you seen over your 20 years in your business, have you seen a change in attitudes or behaviours of women in that space?
Absolutely. I think in the beginning, people saw the alternative healing space as a little bit woo-woo, or if it wasn't woo-woo, it was then an indulgent luxury that people didn't allow themselves to do. The shift has certainly been taking care of yourself and making that a priority, because we know that if we're not well, we can't give and look after the people in our families and communities. So I think we've seen a shift there. I think women understanding that putting yourself first is not selfish, and that you have to be able to look after all those around you. And I think science has caught up where ancient wisdom and many alternative practices has been from many hundreds of years. And we're now seeing more science-based studies and things that quantify what we've known in this space for a long time. So I think it's becoming more acceptable. I think people are finally understanding the mind, body, spirit, I will say, connection, and how important that is, and how important our thoughts are on our health and well-being. The study of epigenetics now is more popular, and there are many fields that are blending alternative, I don't even know, therapies with science. So, and I think there's a genuine interest in this space as well, because it's so fascinating, and there's so much opportunity and so much to learn from. Yeah, I think, and we're also seeing people who the definition of what success is has also changed, I think, and that's helped the shift. So if we're healthy and happy and we live an abundant and full life full of love, and that is a marker of success, more so than being so driven and focused and materialistic that everything else in your world falls away. So I think understanding that longevity, well-being in life is success, and happiness, that's also changed the shift in our thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, something meaningful to do, someone to love you, someone to love, all of those things are yeah, much more important than your title and perhaps your career plan.
Yep.
I just wanted to ask you a bit about the values that you've built into Endota SPA around balance, connection, intent, truth. I mean, those values certainly ring true with many of us who are here at NIIM. We would be certainly along the same lines as yourself. How do you embody those values in your leadership and in your team?
Yeah, we make the values very tangible. So I remember quite a few years ago, we had some people come in and say, well, you need two sets of values. You need your internal values for your team, and you need your external values for your audience. And I said, well, that's not going to work, because there's no way I'm going to be able to remember two sets of values. And for me, there's no point having values if we don't live by them. So we landed on one set of values. They're very much a part of who I am and how I was brought up and what I bring to the world. And we make them tangible in our organisation by talking about them a lot. We reference our values in our strategy, in our thinking, in our hiring. We have awards for our therapists based around those values. Whenever we present awards, they have actually, I think I've got one here that I saw before. I'll just show you so you can see what I mean. So we had our therapist awards nights, and one of the gifts was this beautiful handmade key ring. I don't see, but then we've got our values printed on those as well. So make them something that people can, they hear a lot, they see it a lot, and it's a tangible thing. And we have our values at the heart of all our decision making as well. So they're very real to us. That's the sort of person I am. If it's not real to you, then we don't bother with it. So for us, we do make it very much a part of everything we do. And as an organisation that's grown organically over 20 years to now be Australia-wide and have over 2,000 employees, if we didn't have strong values that connected us, you would lose the essence of the brand, because you can't be everywhere as you can't. So I think values are very, very important in everything we do.
Yes, no, it's so nice to hear about how you've achieved that, and I imagine that that's the part that makes all of those employees maintain their connectedness to you and their motivation to work with you. On a personal level, what are your key goals for the future in a post-COVID world? I don't know if they have changed.
No, they probably haven't changed. My goals are to continue to grow Endota into a global wellness brand, because I believe the benefits are so invaluable. So we will continue to work on that. We've just launched a retreat program. So at the moment it's online. You can do yoga, Pilates, there's sound healing, recipes, thought leaders sharing their wisdom. And then we package that up with products and treatments. Eventually, I want to be able to take people on retreat so that they can have that full immersion in the flesh. Because if you've been on retreat, you come away changed, and I would love to be able to do that for more people. So that's one of my goals moving forward. And personally, just to learn more always. I was at an amazing retreat yesterday, and we were learning breath work, which was incredible, and I want to be able to take that to more people, and to raise 2 happy, healthy boys is, basically be happy. Simple things.
And do you think there are particular challenges ahead for younger people now and for women at the moment, like future generations? What do you think might be some of the challenges ahead for women? I mean, you talked before about there does need to be a paradigm shift in how women manage their family life and their work life, and until there's a recognition of that, and there is a shift in priorities and a recognition that to some extent you can't have it all, but you do have to prioritize, and you do have to have a sense, a sort of a collaborative, supportive network to be able to achieve those things. What do you think are the challenges for women ahead in Australia? in terms of their health and
Yeah.
how to find that space to get the balance.
I think for women, we have so much opportunity. I think in the post-COVID world, it's certainly shown employers that we can work in a flexible environment and be super productive. We've always worked that way at Endota because the majority of our employees are women, but I think it's opened up the game a little bit. I think for women, we have to understand our gifts and talents and what sets us apart from the masculine. And I think we have to use our voices wisely and speak up if things are not how we believe they should be. And I believe we have to be confident enough to create those partnerships in work and home where we see the service that we do as valued. And that's the big shift that we have to do, whether we are at home with the children. That work is the hardest and the most important. And as a society, we still don't value that as we should. So you're right, we do need a whole value shift. And I think the COVID has, I know in our industry, our therapists who are performing treatments have said they've never felt so valued, their work. So clients have really missed that human connection and that touch, and we can see that when people return to staff. But it's the same for our nurses, our teachers, our childcare workers. The shift has changed, and we are now starting to value those service-based industries and careers that help us as a community be who we are. So we must, I believe, as a society, put value, a high value on those industries.
Yeah, absolutely. I wondered if you might share some insights with us about how do you stay healthy? I mean, you're obviously, you sound like you have a lovely, supportive, close-knit family, plus your extended family with lovely positive notes each day. Have you got any particular pearls of wisdom you can share with us?
Possibly. I mean, I love what I do, so that's important. I practice meditation. I have done for a long time. The first yoga retreat I ever went on was in year 10. So I went to an amazing school on the Mornington Peninsula that was very open-minded and provided great experiences. As a family, we get out into nature as much as possible, and that's so important in the digital world we now live in. I think being content, you know, I'm very content with the life that I've been given, and I feel very grateful for the opportunities that I have and the service that we provide to people. So I think it's all of that. I think it's having faith in something bigger than yourself, whatever that may be, and understanding our connection to Earth and each other. All of those things matter to me.
And I really like when you talked about wanting to be able to do retreats. I mean, the environment and experiencing things with other people is so important, isn't it? You know, we can have individual treatments, we can have individual conversations on Zoom, but being part of a group, a community, and just the sort of the experiential part of wellness. Unfortunately, we kind of lost a lot of that last year, but and I love the way you talk about being in nature, because you know, it's kind of it's a bit of a saying, you know, feeling blue, think green. So you can, you know, be outside and be really rejuvenated by the nature and the environment that's around us.
Yeah, we need each other's energy to feed off, and we need earth energy to feed off. I mean, you can feel yesterday when I went on retreat, there was about 12 women. It was a day retreat, and the energy from each other is what made the day. And also feeling the energy through the breath work. I mean, incredible. With crazy, crazy, crazy experiences. Yeah, that you can't get over Zoom.
No. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a delight to talk with you, and I think anyone obviously who works with you and who has been privileged to be on such a wonderful journey to build the business to what you've built it today, and for all of your clients who obviously will come away feeling in a much better space than perhaps when they came through the door. So thank you for all of that you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Amanda, and also to your organisation, which is incredible. Need to get the word out a little bit more, don't we?
Yes, we do. We really, integrative medicine, it has so much to offer in that primary health space, prevention and managing people's complex health conditions in a much more holistic way. So it's certainly, I think, an increasing expectation within the community that people want to look at their health differently. They're expecting to think about their sleep and their stress and their nutrition and their exercise, and not purely a medical model.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, welcome back. Melanie had a lot of strong messages there, I think particularly around that social change that's needed to get that gender equity, so that you can get the balance between your professional and your personal life. And certainly her comments around putting yourself first and not feeling selfish is one that all of us women have to adopt. I'd like to introduce Dr. Anjana Arun. Anjana will speak with us on the topic of self-love. She is an integrative GP here at NIIM who combines the latest evidence-based medical and complementary therapies in her clinical practice. She has a wealth of experience in chronic fatigue syndrome and body burnout. So over to you, Anjana, for your presentation. Thank you.
Just going to share screen. Hopefully that's coming up. So leading on to what Melanie was talking about and the challenges that we women face with balance, I wanted to explore the topics of self-love and self-leadership for women. So you can't pour from an empty cup. And so it's really, really important that we as women take that time to fill our cups up. When we are strong leaders of ourselves and leaders in what's best for us, we are way better at filling our cups. And when our cups are full, we can give more fully to our family and also and the things that we do for work and the projects that we do for the world. I love Saluka cartoon images, and I follow her on Instagram, and a lot of her images are around our relationship with ourselves. And as Amanda was saying earlier, it is not selfish to invest in yourself and to fill yourself up with what makes you feel good. So my 2020, as I think all of us know, was an extremely stressful year. And I was extremely burnt out in a way that I'd never experienced before. And I had a couple of insights, I think, from that year, the importance of breaks, the importance in the small things to nurture ourselves, the real importance of not having to justify ourselves as to why we need our cups filled or the types of needs that we need met by ourselves. And if you don't put yourself first, you're very, very little use to anyone. And from my personal experience with the year, it took me a good 1 month break in December to really recover from that, and probably not putting myself first on a lot of levels. So the question is, why do we not fill our cups up? And I think a lot of it centers around expectations of ourselves, expectations of others, social molds. And generally, I think society being so switched on and on the go and on that treadmill. And this creates a lot of overstimulation and stress. When we're under constant stress, we take energy away from maintenance of our body, regeneration of cells, as well as reproduction. And our brain can actually be, it can affect the brain wiring, and also it can lead to damage and brain inflammation. Preventing this cycle is extremely important. And as Amanda was saying, that is my special interest area, and I see the long-term effects of that in chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia and irritable bowel. Every system has a snapping point, and our bodies and our organs are no exception. So prevention is extremely important. So this is the hypothalamic pituitary axis. So simply speaking, it's our brain to our battery axis, and our batteries we kind of place as our adrenal glands that sit near our kidneys. And normally under stress, we produce cortisol, but over time of overstimulation and overproduction of cortisol, the parts of our brain become resistant, or our cells become resistant to cortisol. And this results in chronic inflammation. And that chronic inflammation can affect the brain and affect the wiring in the brain. And this affects lots of symptoms. So our immune system, so we get lots and lots of viruses and colds. Our metabolic processes, so things like diabetes and other endocrine issues, thyroid function, your hormonal regulation, your urinary system, your nervous system, and your gut. And this can set us up for some very serious long-term illnesses. So how do we identify when our cup is empty? So some key indicators, so low energy, poor sleep, difficulty concentrating, forgetfulness, poor stress resilience, mood swings, anxiety, depression, apathy, resentment, irritability, light and sound sensitivity, so sensitive to overstimulation, and hormonal dysregulation, so premenstrual stress, mood swings. And health, I guess, is a spectrum. And so we've got the red, which is extreme dysfunction, and then you've got the green, which is, balanced and well. And we really want to, be tuned into those early indicators and get onto them quickly. So how do I start filling up my cup? So the first step is we really need to identify the stories that we tell ourselves. And I wrote a couple that commonly that I do that. I can keep going, everyone else does. Other people don't need this, so why do I need it? Things will fall apart if I take time out. Others expect me to sacrifice. I can't spend money on myself. They need me, and their needs are a higher priority than me. I can't create a life that's balanced. I'm not worth it. I don't deserve it. And I need to give all the time to everyone to be a good person. It's my responsibility to make everyone happy. And the other really big one is sometimes when I'd catch myself, sitting down to have a cup of tea, and then there's actual wants to be busy. And I think it's just catching yourself in those moments and going, no, it's time to be mindful. It's time to just sit and sip the tea slowly, or eat my meal really slowly. There's no rush. There's nowhere to go. The other part of it, I guess, is meeting your inner critic, and that's that subconscious inner voice that has a whole dialogue and whole story about it. And There are many different types of inner critic, and I listed them out on the slides, but there's the perfectionist, the controller, the taskmaster who believes you have to work hard to be successful, the underminer, which means you're constantly undermining your self-confidence and you don't deserve good things. The destroyer, you attack your self-worth and you don't feel you deserve the best. Guilt, you constantly hold yourself up to the highest of standards of behavior and are not easily forgiving of yourself or of indulging yourself. The conformist, the need to fit into societal or family molds. So step 2 is, I guess, to become really, really quick detectives when the inner critic is at work. And this one really does take time and a lot of practice. So some of the emotional signs: feeling flat, feeling sad, worry, anxiety, guilt, and shame. Learn to deconstruct the stories of the inner critic. And I often, I remember one retreat where they would talk about practice imagining what a loving, wise guide would say to you in front of you and reframe those stories. Cross-check and deconstruct false stories and expectations. And I think that's where journaling can be helpful. Other people's thoughts and expectations and conditioning are not your own. And definitely practice, practice, practice. Put some boundaries down on people and their needs and start to choose yourself. So I think what was interesting for me as I was reflecting on this over December, Jan, is that there are many different cups and you kind of need to identify which cups are important to you. And I'm assuming those cups might well change with different times in your life. And I think part of being in tune with yourself is, checking in on that. And so some of the different cups I sort of brainstormed were your emotional cup, your spiritual and soul cup, your physical cup, your community and connection cup, your self-growth cup, and your hobbies and your passions. So you don't have to go and take a month and run off to Byron Bay to recover. You can sort of start with baby steps. And again, a lovely Saluka image to demonstrate this. And it's about loving yourself that 1% more every day with small, small actions. And so I listed a couple to give some ideas. So I guess on the emotional level, your friends. I love having a potter around the house day when no one's around. Women's circles, and I think Melanie was talking about that one, into those retreat spaces, but there are women's circles available in Melbourne. Finding a lovely counsellor to talk to. The spiritual and soul, and I think this is a really, really, really important one. Meditation, books, dancing, music, painting, eat a meal or drink a tea slowly, and having a spiritual circle with your spiritual soul family. And those are people that are not necessarily your actual family, but people that you surround yourself that really build you up and really know you. Physical, a 10-minute cat nap in your office at midday, a walk in the sunshine, a hot body or foot bath a couple of times a week. Do your nails or a mini facial or get a nice haircut or get a regular massage. Connection and community could look like a knitting group, a yoga class, a movie night, social circles. And self-growth, and I think Melanie is talking about those lovely texts that she gets from her dad, but those affirmations and inspiring quotes, self-reflection and creative visualizations, listening to uplifting and inspiring talks. Hobbies and passions unique to you. So this International Women's Day, let's all lead by example and love ourselves like our life depends on it. So we can better support all those people we nurture and care for better, as well as make powerful impacts in the world. And this is a lovely quote by Lucille Ball. Love yourself first and everything else falls in line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjana. That was absolutely fabulous. I love your concept of filling up the cup and the mindfulness, and I'm going to try and do that 10-minute cat nap. We'll have some questions at the end for opportunities to raise those with Anjana. But first, I'd like to introduce our final speaker, Dr. Tamara Nation, who will speak on body image as well as a reflection on your inner health and wellness. Tamara is an integrative general practitioner here at NIIM and is experienced in women's health and believes that good health lays the foundation to a good life. She is passionate about sharing her knowledge and skills with her patients and clients. Thank you, Tamara.
Thanks, Amanda, and thanks, Anjana and Melanie. It's a real privilege to be speaking to you guys here tonight and to discuss this very important topic about women and leadership. And my discussion tonight is about body image as a reflection of your inner health and wellness. But before I kick into the nitty-gritty of that, I just wanted to highlight some of those important leadership skills that we as women embody every day on our journeys, as mothers, as daughters, as partners, as workers in the community. Supportive, inspirational, honest, highly committed, passionate, reflective, creative. And how many women do we know who are so creative but often don't share their skills or value their skills? It's just amazing. And also problem solvers, the problem solving that it takes to organize a school lunch, to sew a hem, to multitask multiple things every day. Wow. And what are some of the great characteristics of a good leader? Those that have integrity, they're able to delegate and communicate. They're self-aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. As Melanie was discussing, practicing gratitude and learning every day, not just from our successes, but also from our mistakes. Being able to influence those around us, however little or however small. Often it's being the role model, as Anjana was talking about, and filling your own cup first. Demonstrating empathy and courage and being respectful to everyone that we meet as best we can, but also being respectful to ourselves and our boundaries. So I want to now focus on how we see ourselves and how this affects our health and wellness. To start off, I'd like to look at this study. And this was done in 2016, looking at how body image affects quality of life. When we think about body image, it's described as the assessment, both positive and negative, of our body parts as well as our characteristics. And the World Health Organization defines quality of life as our assessment of our position in life in the areas of culture, values, goals, expectations, standards, and concerns. Now, this study looked at over 600 participants and reviewed body image and quality of life. One of the findings from the study was that a lower body image score was attributed to females versus males, as well as those who wanted to change their weight. A higher body image score was given by those who are working, those who participated in regular exercise, and those who felt healthy about where they were at and who they were. And we often see that regarding body dissatisfaction. Individuals that suffer from low self-esteem, a low mood, have perfectionistic traits, often may have a negative evaluation of their physical health, when in fact, they're quite well. Quality of life was assessed in multiple domains, but I'd like to focus on the physical, the psychological, and the social domains. And in all three of these domains, women compared to men had lower scores. The other interesting group was those who felt that they were not normal by their family, their friends, or their partner, even themselves, also demonstrated lower quality of life scores in all three domains. The important correlation of all of this was that a lower body image score affected the quality of life score, again in all three domains: physical, psychological, and social. So what causes a negative body image? There are multiple reasons, but I would like to highlight a few key ones this evening. Firstly, being teased or bullied during your formative years during childhood and adolescence can directly correlate. Secondly, being told that you're ugly, too fat, too thin, or any other aspects of your appearance that are criticized can affect your body image. The media and images in the media and in the news can often make individuals feel bad about the way they look. Being underweight or overweight or obese is also correlated with a lower body image score. And in other rarer cases, there are medical conditions such as body dysmorphic disorder, which can affect an individual's perception of their body image. An important area is obesity, and weight management is a special interest of mine. And obesity often affects an individual's body image. An interesting study, and there are actually multiple studies in this area that demonstrate that a woman's internal weight stigma can actually affect their capacity to maintain and lose weight. And this is in the areas of psychological weight loss therapy, medical weight loss therapy, and even after bariatric surgery. So the way one feels about oneself, one's body image, one's weight can actually predict and determine how weight is maintained or weight is lost in the long term. Self-esteem is directly correlated to body image. And this was a really interesting study that I found looking at personal grooming and how it affected body image. In this study done in 2014, participants, women who were using deodorant or perfume and then viewed themselves in the mirror, tended to score their appearance more accurately than those individuals that had not used perfume or deodorant prior to looking at themselves in the mirror, and they seemed to overestimate their weight, so think they were larger than they actually were. So how can we have a healthy body image? Firstly, the research indicates that those who suffer from being overweight or obesity, if participation in a weight loss program is possible, this can certainly help. Staying physically active really assists in maintenance of a healthy body image. Undertaking good mental health exercises and all those retreats, all those cups of tea, all those partnerships with friends and family have been shown to be beneficial on an individual's mental health, being connected. And we as individuals need to critically appraise the media and the messaging and really form our own opinions based on reality versus fiction. And what about young people? Because this is certainly something that affects those that are in their formative years. It's really important to provide good education that weight gain and growth is normal and it's a part of development, especially during puberty. Avoiding negative statements about food, weight, body, size, and shape can really assist a young growing person. Focusing on the positives, improving their self-esteem, and limiting screen time. This has a twofold adverse effect. Firstly, there's the issue about being sedentary. Secondly, there are unrealistic messages often portrayed in the media. It's important that we address bullying when this occurs. And as adults, being present with our young person, that is such an important gift that we can give them and help in their body image, their self-esteem, and their identity. So in conclusion, I'd like to reiterate that a healthy body image is a real vital key factor for good health. And on this fantastic period where we're talking about women's health and leadership, there's a great quote: "I feel healthy, I feel strong, I feel fit and able to conquer the world." Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. I might start with you, Tamara. You talked a lot about women's health, and I wondered, how do we change what is often a common image in the media and the emphasis on body image? Because, I mean, you've talked a lot in a much more holistic way, which is great, but we still do consistently see, and have done for a number of years, that the focus on body image for women, as opposed to focusing on their health and well-being. And how can we make some inroads in that space and take up a much broader perspective, which is what you've outlined to us this evening?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the focus, so we want to have good body images for women today, but ultimately we want to have good health. So I think body image is an individual's perception of themselves. It's not what the media says is the perfect body image, but it's what an individual says to themselves about themselves. So I think teaching individuals critical appraisal, teaching individuals the key factors that will increase their perception of self, improve their body image and their self-esteem, will help to nurture what is actually important and truthful and realistic for themselves versus unrealistic images in the media.
Yeah, absolutely. Anjana, you gave us many tips about how to fill up our cup and how to stave off some of those negative thoughts that we've got, and to challenge ourselves. How do you manage your own self-care? What have been some of the successful strategies? I mean, you talked about having a break during COVID. Are there any other particular things you think to highlight that have been successful for you personally and your family?
Yeah, I think for me, time with my girlfriends is actually quite important. And I do get that sort of soul nourishment from that. And so being able to leave, luckily with my husband, he's always been fine doing bedtimes, and we shared that responsibility. So I can quietly exit at 6 and go for a movie and a dinner and spend some time. And I think during after COVID, I think I've really needed that more. And in some of my break, I've had 2 nights at a girlfriend's place, which has just been so good, just to talk like between women. I think there's just a different level of nourishment you get from that, and nurture, and that has been really good. And I get regular massage as well, so once every 2 weeks is getting a massage and that physical touch, and that has been really, really good. And in clinic, it was actually a practitioner who told me, just lie on the floor for 20 minutes, put something to block out the light, and just lie on the floor and just shut your eyes and just disconnect for a while. And I was surprised at how recharging that time was, and how powerfully recharging, because I was finding by 2 p.m. I was like, like trying to get through the last couple of hours, and so that would just give me that sustenance not to come home then so tired. So those are a couple of the things that I've done.
And I think what you've both emphasised is that looking after ourselves is really important, because we do look after a lot of others. But I'm absolutely on the same page with you. There is a sisterhood, I think, of sharing time with other women, which is really special and does certainly build our self-esteem and our social health too. As you're both integrative general practitioners, I wondered if you, both of you might comment on what does an integrative approach really offer to support women's health? I know you both talked about different areas that are interesting to you, but I think for the people listening tonight, perhaps understanding a bit more about what the benefits of that integrative approach might be.
I think from my point of view, it's spending time, and I think giving someone presence and really deeply listening to everything, their whole story. And that's what I tend to practice in my clinic, is that sort of longer consult time where I have time to unpack, their emotional history, their environmental history, their physical history, and then being able to come up with a plan that addresses all those elements, that incorporates not just, one specific medication, but a whole variety of things, from diet to lifestyle to emotional things to nutrients to herbals, and having a really wide toolbox to draw upon.
Yes, I would agree with a lot of what you said, Anjana. I think time is a fantastic thing that we can offer our patients at NIIM that you don't often get to offer in other settings. The other really point of distinction that I find working at NIIM is the patient-centered care. And I think being an integrative practitioner, you're able to make the patient or the client the focus and be guided by them in terms of what they want as their health outcomes, and provide them the opportunity to choose the tools that they want to utilize to achieve them, be it with traditional pharmacotherapy, be it with tertiary management, be it with nutritional lifestyle care, but present all the options and have that discussion and let the patient work with you for that combined decision-making model. And I think it's really done well in the integrative space, where you can give people that time to really delve into what they want to achieve for themselves at the present time, and then 5 years, 12 months, their framework.
Yeah. And I think what both of you have focused on, which is a value very close to our heart at NIIM, is about empowering individuals through the knowledge, through the time, through listening, so that individuals, women of course, can make informed decisions about their healthcare. And that's probably one of the most important things I think that we would value. So thank you to all of our speakers for this evening. I'd just like to thank our sponsors. Again, Endota Spa, we've got 2 $100 vouchers in the drawer at the end of this webinar from Melanie. We've got 2 $100 vouchers from Spotlight and a $100 voucher from NIIM Dispensary. So, and just a reminder that NIIM is a registered charity. Any donations are a tax deductible, and that can be done via our website. So thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Many thanks to our speakers, Melanie Gleeson, Dr. Anjana Arun and Dr. Tamara Nation. And we look forward to seeing you soon at NIIM. Good night.